Welcome to the Cosmetic Podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Rodrigo Ross.
I'm Keith Benson.
So today we are talking about We Are Family, right? The art of community engagement as a part of our new Cosmetic Leadership series where we'll amplify leaders and initiatives that are dynamic and energizing. So today's guest is the one and only Dr. Froswa. The one and only. When you have to put the in front of their name, you know it's fancy.
Yes.
Dr. Froswa Booker-Drew. She has an extensive background in nonprofit management, partnership development, training, and education, and she currently serves as the Director of Community Affairs for the state of Texas. She also assists a number of organizations as a consultant, board member, trainer, and advisor. She is the co-host of a web talk show, Social Issues Time with Froswa. And of course, this wonderful diva has earned her PhD in leadership and change from Antioch University with a focus on relational leadership and social capital.
Now, can I bust out in the song?
I wish you wouldn't, but I don't think I could stop you.
So we are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Everyone see we're together as we walk on by. And we fly just like birds of a feather. I won't tell a lie. All the people around us, they say, can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love in a family dose.
So technically, that wasn't a song. That was a poetry reading. You did not sing, but I appreciate you for that because I've heard you sing before. And okay. Thank you for the reading of the word. Amen. Thank you for the reading of that word. But it's fine. You did a good job.
So that song is all about family because we know that you are a Miss Community Engager. I mean, I keep up with the trends of Dallas and everything that's going on with around with you, as well as in the community engagement. Can you talk to us a little bit about that whole piece of community engagement?
Well, I just think it's so important. In Dallas, I hear all the time people say that there isn't anything going on, and it is. It's not coordinated well. Mm-hmm. And so I think what I try to do is just make sure that people have information, because I recognize, without going too scriptural, since you gave us some word,
amen.
That people perish because of lack of vision.
Right.
And some translations say knowledge. And so I think it's so important to be able to make sure that people have information and resources to be successful.
Now, you pulled together the other week a group of men, and I'm going to say shamelessly, why men, we can't do that. But you brought in together some leaders that are just power brokers across the Dallas area. And I put that out on LinkedIn, and man, I'm just amazed at the hit. So thank you for making me famous because of bringing all those men together.
Way to ride her coattails.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Continue to
because you know what, you talk about me being up late. I was up, a little bit late last night, and I'm seeing on LinkedIn things coming out from Miss Drew here, and she's just making it happen.
So you trolling her page late at night?
No, I don't have to troll. It just pops up because she's. So you got those men together. One, because of something that you're involved in with the Giving Circle. Can you talk a little bit about that and the impact that that's making?
Well, one of the reasons, I'll start with why I brought you all together, because I had a lot of men who were coming up saying, well, why do you do a Giving Circle for women? Why aren't you supporting men? And my response was, well, y'all need to start one. Mm-hmm. And so I was, hearing people talk about Black men, and I know these amazing men, and that wasn't everybody. But I just wanted to bring you all together, kind of talk about what would it look like for a group of Black men to get in that space. We started Heritage Giving Circle a couple of years ago, and Akilah Wallace is the founder, amazing sister, and it's just doing some great things. And so Akilah came to me and Halima Leak Francis and said, I want to start this Black Women's Giving Circle. And without knowing everything about it, I said yes. And so the idea that you have 40 plus women who are pooling their money, and we tell everybody up front, folks aren't giving checks of $1,000 off the top. There are some who do that. But for many of us, it's monthly contributions because we're committed to making sure that, we're supporting programs that are led by Black women or whether they're the ED or on the board of directors, we just want to make sure that we're supporting programs that also support Black women and girls.
Excellent. So, I'm a fan of Wikipedia, so I look up all kinds of stuff on Wikipedia. And the definition of community engagement is a dynamic relational process that facilitates communication, interaction, involvement, and exchange between an organization and a community. Talk to me about what your definition of community engagement is.
I think community engagement is about listening. I think it's about linking. And I think it's about identity.
Yeah.
I think so often people come into communities and not being aware of the identity and the historical baggage and cultural dynamics that exist in the community. And I think that's so important. Before you go in, it's listening and learning about what goes on in community. And then how is it that you link people? I don't think the goal in engagement is to solve for issues necessarily. I think the goal for engagement is how do you bring people together? They already have the answers.
Yeah.
And one of my frustrations even in South Dallas is people automatically assume that folks need missionaries and folks come in here and save people. They don't need saving. They go to church for that. What people need are resources, and they already have the answers. And I think it's our job to figure out how do we connect them to those resources so that they can fulfill their purpose and destiny, and they define what that looks like.
Right.
And I think that's a part of the identity piece is listening to what folks already believe they are. And how do you help, to your point, amplify what this is doing? How do you amplify their voices by connecting them to things that can make, their living situation better.
So for the person who is really excited and decides that they want to do something in this community engagement space, what can they do? What are some community engagement activities that just anybody can facilitate to kind of help breed those relationships?
I think it starts first with building your own network.
Yeah.
I think as a community, we don't think about social capital. And we don't think about how do you build networks and what does it look like to build networks that are very different than you. So I think it's important. There's this type of social capital that's called bonding. And all of us do that. It's connecting to people that are just like you. Well, that's good. But at some point, the information becomes reshared, recycled information. I think it's helping us to go beyond the bonding and start looking at this idea of bridging. And what does it mean to connect to people that are very different than you are and have different ideas, not just look like you, but may have very different ideas and perspectives than you do. So I think first being in spaces, how do you build your network? And how do you, use that existing network you have and leverage it? I hear people all the time go, I need help. And my question is, so what do you need?
Right.
And they're not able to really tell you what that is. You often have everything you need at your fingertips. You just don't ask or leverage it.
Right.
LinkedIn is a prime example to me how people are on that. And you have these folks that you're connected to that you could leverage those relationships just by saying, let's go have coffee.
Yeah.
And begin to talk. And I think sometimes we get frustrated when people say no. That's not necessarily the end. The question becomes, so who could you introduce me to who can help me get closer to what it is I want to do? And so I think being in this space is being open and listening and being willing to meet people. But then I think it's also being a conduit and being open to resources and not hoarding them. I find a lot of people, as soon as they know something, they want to be the ones who hoard it and everybody comes to them versus saying, hey, this is for everybody. I want you all to benefit from it. And so that's the other piece is how do you help find those resources and being willing to distribute that out to people is a way to do that kind of engagement work. And so, I had a young lady recently who sent me a note on LinkedIn and was saying, I want to do this work. And my first thing was to her, research. Right. Start looking at who's doing what, find out who the people are in those spaces, and then get you some mentors. Yeah. And allow people to speak wisdom and give you guidance so that you can begin to not only build your network, you can start learning how to do it from them.
Okay.
What would you tell that millennial, somebody maybe 2-3 years out of college, they're into a career, they have the full-time job, but they still need to be connected a little bit more. Talk to us a little bit more about what are maybe 1 or 2 key things that you would tell that young person to get connected?
Be patient. I think when they're young, and I was the same way, you want to change the world immediately. And when you don't get results, you get mad and it's everybody's fault. And these old folks won't let me in. And some of that may have some truth to it.
Keep let these young people in. Don't be that old person.
Don't be that old person.
Don't be that old person, Keith.
Continue.
but I think it is for them being patient. It takes a process and it takes time to build networks. I tell people all the time, I've been doing this a long time. When we're walking through the cultural center this morning, it's like, man, I was here, in 95. And so it wasn't that, I just started doing it. I've been doing it a long time. And so it's...
Don't put them, because you don't look like long time.
But it's been a long time, and one of the things that I always say is you just have to keep doing the work.
Yeah.
So I think it's telling young people, one, be patient, be willing to do the work, and get you some mentors.
Yeah. Mentors are important.
So what, and thinking of a community, I know we have a lot of things here in Dallas, but we got listeners that across the world even, we can say. What are key things that they can go out and do? Like what organizations maybe should they connect with?
Well, I think depending on your profession, look at professional associations of one.
Yeah.
So if you're in PR, Public Relations Society of America is an amazing group for you to get in if that's something you want to do. If you want to do fundraising, there's Association of Fundraising Professionals. So I think looking at professional organizations of one. Then I think they're the social groups. How do you get on Meetup? Meetup.com has some amazing organizations of people trying to get together, whether you want to volunteer, if it's Black women reading groups. I think there are opportunities for you to get on those, groups and begin to start identifying things that are going on. And then I think in the Dallas realm, there's some wonderful Facebook pages that, are doing things around, African American issues. There are all these amazing groups. There's this group that is, if you're from South Dallas, and it's like 40,000 plus people on this page. And sometimes it's great content about South Dallas. And then there are other times where there is content that is a little silly, but to have 40,000 people that are on there,
that's amazing.
And it's talking about South Dallas is huge. So there are a lot of groups. There's a Black United group. There are all these groups that are Dallas based on Facebook. So I think there's some opportunities for people to really engage and using the internet to be a way to do that.
Right. And finding those positive uses for social media. Some of the conversations that I have with folks today when they're talking about community engagement, which I think is right, they're talking about that person-to-person touch, that in-person, that physical, proximity thing. But I do think that you're absolutely right. People need to use social media in a wonderful way, not just, posting the latest sweater or taking another picture of your food and posting it, but getting in groups.
That really goes a long way,
yeah,
right?
It does, because pizza just kind of looks like pizza. I don't really care what the angle is. It's fine.
Again, we have you here, and not only that you're engaged in a lot of activities, you're an author also. So talk about your book, Rules of Engagement.
Yeah. So that started off when I was working on my dissertation. I brought a group of women together to research, and one of the things that was so powerful was the storytelling.
Yeah.
And so women don't really have these safe spaces to share. And I think the same thing applies for men. But these women, I knew them all. They didn't know each other, and they were telling things. I was like, girl, I didn't know that about you. I don't know if I would share that, but okay. But they felt safe. And so I listened to them, and from their stories and my own, I kind of came up with these rules for connecting to people. And so the whole premise of the book is to help women build their network and their relationships. And so I'm really big on reflective thinking and learning. And so I like workbooks because it's not just me telling you a story.
Right.
It's you getting the opportunity to think about how does it reflect your own experience. And so that's really what the book is. It's just a way for women to think about how their own stories are either helping or hindering them from connecting to each other.
Excellent. And so then there's another book, Ready for a Revolution. Talk to us about Kurt Franklin gonna get you. You can't.
Don't make him mad.
Don't make him mad. He's right here in Dallas.
Kurt, if you're listening, let me know if I can fill in for your woo-woo part, please.
I could tell you no. That would be a no. It's been filmed. So, Ready for a Revolution. And tell us about that one.
And that one was a group of women. I had taken on a silence retreat. I try to do silence retreats at least once every 2 years or so.
What is a silence retreat?
So I go to a convent or a monastery, and I spend 2 or 3 days in complete silence, praying and reading my Bible and There are some beautiful places here in North Texas that folks are so unaware of that are so affordable. And I just go and spend time. There are no clocks. There are monks or nuns. And I'm just there in my room and on the grounds listening to God and writing my goals and just kind of refocusing. And so because of that experience for me, I took a group of women, which was very difficult to tell them not to talk. And so
you better not say a word, Keith. You better not say a word.
Because it can't be done. Now hush. And so anyway, I'll be, but this is the thing. They did have moments of silence, but we had guided facilitation. And so when they finished the retreat, I started sending them these kind of letters to keep them inspired. So that they would stay focused on what they wanted to do. And so the book is really a devotional, it's faith-based to kind of help women stay focused on what it is that they want to do in their lives. And so at some point I want to take more women. I want to do more silence retreats because it is just an amazing experience being able to be still and just listen for whatever you feel that you're being led to do.
That might be a good moneymaker. I'm sure. I'm thinking that maybe some husbands might,
Really? That's what you got from the whole. That's what you got.
Really?
Out of the really?
I probably shouldn't have said.
You ain't no probably. You should not.
We'll make sure that.
But now you got me thinking about the money that I told you.
Now that you have the men's group, take them somewhere so they can be silent. Now I'd pay for Keith's. Well, how much is Keith's? I'm paying for his. He got a sponsor.
Now you have a daughter and you have a book also called Flyway.
Yeah, that's new. And so she was going to college. And as a parent, you get afraid that you didn't teach them everything.
Right.
Once they get off, you're like, oh my goodness, did I tell you this? Did I tell you that? And so I wrote a book of lessons for her, my experiences as a young woman in transition. I want her to know, number one, everybody's not raised the way that you are.
Well,
so do not have a fit about the way people live in the world. Just be grounded in who you are. And so I wanted her to be grounded. And again, using a faith lens, it's a book that has scripture, affirmations, and it's like 22 lessons that I wanted her to remember. One of them being, ask for what you want. A man in a suit and tie just did. So just because you see, men are doing and asking for what they want, I gave the illustration. One of my former bosses told me when he applies for a job, if he only has 30% of the qualifications, he will apply. When I talk to women usually say, if I don't have 90% of the qualifications, I will not submit a resume.
Wow.
And so just hearing that, what I wanted my daughter to know was you don't have to know everything. He felt like he could just walk in and start learning, whereas we felt like we always had to be so prepared. You can be at any table you want to, ask for what you want. And so those are the kinds of lessons that I put in the book to really encourage her to find her voice, use her faith as a lens, and fly.
Man,
I want to get that book.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped right now. My goodness,
I'm gonna sprout some wings. I'm gonna get that book.
Man, this has been a place. I mean, so you're all over the place. Where can people find you?
So I am at the State Fair, Texas. Do not ask me for any tickets. People always
and no corny dogs.
No, don't ask for food. None of that. Coupons.
I was going to say the coupons.
No.
See, I'm not from. So my experience with the fair. I'm from Virginia, and only Texas has a state fair the way that Texas has.
Yeah, it is.
And so my first experience, I was a little thrown off because I thought once I paid my $12 or so to get in, I was good, right?
You good for some things.
You can walk
step
around.
Across the line.
You can walk around. Well, you've been here long enough. Now you know. So you can't get any tickets. The from Virginia thing is just not working anymore.
Okay, it's 10 and a half years later.
No.
Oh, you're Texan at this point.
I heard it was 20 years that you got to be.
Okay.
So
there's a number.
You're kind of there. You're kind of there.
There's a number.
But you can find me at the State Fair, Texas. We're doing some amazing things around community engagement work. And so you can look on our website on the Supporting Texans /community involvement page. And there's a lot of information about that. And then you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't do Instagram. I'm trying to come up in the 21st century with the young people. I feel like if I have to take a picture of my food and tell you where I'm eating, then I want you to be there.
Right.
And I don't do that I just eat when I want to. You don't need to know.
Right.
So I don't
Unless
do
you can.
Instagram. Right. Then I'll come. But I don't do Instagram. So it's coming. But it's easy to find me.
Okay. No, but before we close out, though, can you speak to everybody goes to the state fair, and it's huge.
Yeah.
But you guys do a lot of good work with some of the revenue that comes in. Can you talk just a little bit about that before we close out?
So several things. Scholarship program. We fund 6 schools in the South Dallas Fair Park area. So we do over $1 million in scholarships every year for young people. My department puts on events like Next Fest, which is our big college career fair we just had in February, and we had over 400 young people from Southern Sector schools. We do grants. We have funded over 60 organizations and did $480,000 in grants in 2019. So there are a number of community initiatives. One that's coming up that I'd like to encourage people to apply for. We do a cohort for folks who want to be vendors at the fair.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people would come to me at my church and go, I want a booth. I want to get rich. And it's like, it's not that. It's simple. And what we discovered is for a lot of people in our communities, they don't have the capital.
Yeah.
Right.
And it requires a lot of startup investment.
Yeah.
And so we started this cohort to build their infrastructure, but to also help people's credit. So we have, this past year, we had 14 businesses that were in the cohort, and then 10 actually graduated because they go through classes, but in addition to the classes, they have to do shadowing of vendors so they can actually see if that's what they want, their deliverables. And then one of our graduates from last year got a booth this year at the fair, was on Kelly Clarkson's show. She's been on Fox. And so it's just awesome to be able to have somebody who was in the cohort, Black female, who now was able to have a booth at the fair.
Excellent. And I will say, my Y has been a recipient of funds to support swim lessons for Black and brown kids, and it is absolutely a game changer. Like, that funding allowed us to reach out to schools that we wouldn't have been able to get into. It allowed us to provide transportation, and it really felt good for all of those years being in South Dallas to have that institution that's right there in South Dallas that feels so far away, to some of the kids really pour in after the fair is gone and all of the booths are closed, the fairway is shut down, really still pouring into the community and making some things happen. So thank you for that, Froswa. That's been an amazing piece of connectivity.
Dr. Booker-Drew, you've been amazing. Thank you for just sharing your knowledge with us. She's an author. She's a philanthropist. She's a community engager.
Yeah.
She's a vice president of community affairs for the State Fair of Texas.
Check her out at froswarules.com.
Thank you for listening to Cosmetic,
where our conversations are global,
globally minded and locally focused.
Check us out at www.ymcadallas.org/cosmetic.
And as always,
stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay cosmetic.